I've been spending time with you on my mind. 72 Days is definitely one of the more personal and honest songs on the EP. They all come from a pretty personal place, but this one in particular I think is super raw. And when I wrote it, I was just sitting down with my guitar and I had a nice kind of melodic idea in the actual chords. I kind of poured out everything I was feeling at the time into the song. And I think that's always been a really fulfilling part of songwriting for me, is that kind of catharsis of using songwriting as a way to express your emotions and get certain feelings out. Often I'll find myself going back over lyrics that I've written, and at the time that I wrote them I didn't actually fully understand where they were coming from or what I was trying to say. While consciously I might have been trying to tell a certain story, subconsciously there were a lot of ways that those lyrics related to certain emotions that I was going through at the time that I may not have even been aware of when I was writing the song. So it's weird in that way that the songs that you write can almost reveal things to yourself that you didn't actually realize. It's a really weird concept, but I find it happens quite a bit. For this song, at the time I was feeling pretty alone. It was at a time in my life where I was going through a lot of transition and a lot of change, and I was trying to work things out for myself because I had come to the realization that for a long period of time I was very dependent on the people around me. While this song is kind of dwelling in that feeling of being alone, I guess the positive of it was the realization and the liberation of becoming independent, becoming my own person, and kind of stepping into that and realizing that I need to be responsible for myself and I need to take responsibility and accountability for my feelings. I guess through this EP, like, a lot of the songs are super sad, hence the title Melancholy, but my intention, I guess, was for that feeling of, it's almost like a warm blanket when you just want to curl up in a ball in bed, or a nice hug from a friend. It's meant to be like, hey, I recognize how you're feeling and it's okay to feel that way. Take me away. Save me from this pain. So looking at the production, this is one of the simpler songs on the EP, but there are a few layers going on, and I'll just try to break it down bit by bit as we go. And a lot of the elements and sounds are very consistent across the EP. I've noticed that more so now doing these breakdowns. It wasn't really a conscious thing, I don't think, but I've tended to use the same kind of instruments and processing and sounds across the board. And I guess that kind of gives it that consistent feeling as a whole project. But yeah, starting off, we've got the guitar. A very similar thing to what I did in Still is going on with the guitar here. It's an acoustic guitar, but I ran it through an electric guitar amp. It gives it this weird quality. It's kind of ambiguous. It's kind of not really an acoustic guitar, but not really an electric guitar. It's just got this weird in-between, which I kind of liked. It gives it this interesting sound. And then later on in the song, we bring in an electric guitar on top of that. And that's playing the exact same melody, but just adding the electric guitar on top of the acoustic, I felt gave it that extra bit. Those are the main guitar bits. The only other thing is that later on in the song, it builds up to more of a strum. For the bass, very similar to what I did in Still and Unsaid as well, I think. I layered a real sounding bass on top of like an electronic sub bass. And I really just like the combination of that because there's a different quality in the real sounding bass and the sub bass, and together they kind of have this interesting sound. So this is the real sounding bass, mixed in with the sub bass underneath. So that just thickens it up quite a bit. Under those elements, we have these pads, which are the same pads that I've used in a couple other songs. Yeah, I just love the sound of those pads. They kind of thicken everything up and make it sound really cool. So under all that, for the main kind of drum parts, we've got this this kick and snap thing. And then I also added this this lighter clicking sound, as well as this snare. And these are kind of panned left and right to give it a bit more space. And then on top of these elements, I added like a drum kit, but it's super kind of muddy and washed out, just because I didn't want it to be too overpowering for this song. It sounds like this. And then under all that, we've got some textural stuff going on. So there's this rain sound that is that runs throughout quite a bit of it. I love the sound of rain, it's just super soothing. And underneath everything, it just felt really nice. And on top of that, I've got some wind and some weird bird noises, if you can kind of hear. It's really subtle. And that just gives it like this bed of ambience, which just adds to the overall atmosphere of the song. And then I guess the only other thing to look at is the vocals. Quite a bit throughout this song I use this vocal effect, which I kind of covered in Unsaid as well. It's literally just me singing random things, kind of ad-lib parts, and then heavily processing them to sound really robotic and distorted and weird. And in the context of the whole mix, I think it sounds really interesting. I can turn some of the effects off and see how it sounds. It's going to sound really weird. So weird, right? I don't even remember how I came up with the idea for that. I just decided to sing some weird random stuff into the mic. So that's about every element. Like I said, there's not too much going on in this song. It's just an interesting combination of things. So in the end, it kind of sounds like this.
Where did you go? I needed you most. Now I'm all alone. Where did you go? I needed you most. Now I'm all alone. Where did you go? I needed you most. Now I'm all alone.
So that's it for 72 Days. I hope you enjoyed this video and breakdown. I hope you found it somewhat interesting, and maybe next time you listen to the song, you can hear it with a new perspective. I will see you next week for another breakdown. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Much love.